today we're going to begin looking at the critical theories, or the lenses in which you can evaluate a work and interpret a work and analyze a work. And so our objective today is I can interpret short stories through the lens of a critical theory. And so we're going to kind of quickly go through those critical theories that are out there. Now, there are many others, but these are just a few. Formalist, as we talked about, biographical, looking at the author's background and how that applies to the work and other works that the writer has written, historical perspective, like the the values and thoughts of the time and what was going on during that time period, psychological perspective, sociological, feminist perspective, mythological perspective, structuralist, deconstructive. So there are several, and these are just some of the main ways that you can evaluate a literary work. Now, the purpose for doing that is to understand a work on several different levels, because there are more ways of thinking about one particular thing than just one way, right? So this helps us look at several different ways to look at the same work. Let's take, for example, Cinderella. You're all familiar with Cinderella, right? The story, yeah. All right, so you've got like this Beyonce-like character, doing some kind of scrubbing the floor or something, and because her evil stepmother and stepsister or sisters have made her do this, right? And but she dreams of something bigger, right? She wants to break out of this, and so she finds a fairy godmother, right? And mice, apparently. And then she's transformed into this princess, right? And she's worthy of the prince. Well, if we take a feminist reading of this, right, a criticism, this is what we might draw from it. Cinderella's happiness depends on men in this story, right? For example, her father dies. Before her father dies, she's happy, right? But when her father dies, she's unhappy, right? And then the only way for her to come out of that is to marry the prince, right? And then that is her happiness again. So her happiness depends on men. And from a feminist criticism, this would kind of show how misogynistic this work is, and show how it is, subordinating the female character. In order to attract the prince, she must impress her with her looks, right? So she's kind of been reduced to looks, according to the feminists. The prince only knows her by her beauty and the missing glass slipper, right? I mean, it's not like they engage in, conversations to get to know each other, right? That's not important. It's only her looks, the way she dances. Oh, she doesn't have a big foot, right? Right? Without men, Cinderella has no control over life, right? And so, in this way, a feminist criticism would really criticize Cinderella, right? It would be a work that is very much, a more patriarchal look at the situation. Now, the psychological or psychoanalytical reading of Cinderella, Freud, the id, right? You're familiar with the id, ego, superego. Well, initially, her superego is at play. She wants to please everybody, right? She wants to please her stepsisters, her stepmother, and so forth, right? So here she is cleaning and doing all of that. However, her dreams reflect her id, right? Her primal desire to break out of this, to have power, to do what she wants to do. When her fairy godmother grants her wishes, she breaks out of the superego dominance, right? And Cinderella gives her into her id by leaving her job, right, that she had, that her superego was operating on her. She goes to the party, which she was forbidden to do. She breaks the rules, in other words. She gives in to her primal desires. Because she fell in love with the prince and got married, this exemplifies her emergence of her ego, because marriage is a socially accepted relationship. So we see that she's kind of going back into this more socially acceptable role. If we were to take it from a sociological or Marxist reading of Cinderella, right? Cinderella is exploited by her rich relatives, right? She exploits the mice, birds, and fairy godmother who help her for no pay, right? I mean, they never get any payment for doing any of this, right? Cinderella has no wealth, right? And her only hope is to marry the prince. So we have class structure here, right? Cinderella's poor, stepsisters are middle class, and they yearn to move up in their position, and of course, the prince who controls everything, he has command of what's going on and all the power in the kingdom. So from a Marxist standpoint, you might evaluate how class structure works in Cinderella, right? The original fable, this goes a bit deeper, the animals gouge out the eyes of the stepsisters and drive them out, symbolizing the violent clash of between the rich and the poor, right? Now that's left out of the Disney version of Cinderella, right? You don't see any eyes gouged out, but the original, like, grim storytell was much darker, right? And so you see how we take the same story and read it three different ways. So what I would like you to do is get into your groups that you have chosen and take the lottery and then analyze it in this way. I've got an assignment in Google Classroom, so if you will, go ahead and get into your groups, pull up the assignment, and begin working on that. So what is the definition of historical criticism theory? And on the other link, I've given you some definitions for that, and links to find the definitions are. And then what would be an analysis of the lottery based on historical perspective? And I've given you some questions on the sheet to kind of guide you to answer all of these answers. Interpretation of the lottery. There's quite a bit going on here. So yeah, look up the theory. And there's some guiding questions on the what is psychological perspective on spending a checklist. Yeah, the checklist, yeah. And so, kind of go through audible, so what connections can you make between your knowledge of the author's life and behavior, motivation, characteristics of her work. So you may have to do a little bit of research on her life. It should be biographical sites. How does your understanding of the characters and relationships and actions? So when you go through and use those guiding questions, you develop an interpretation. You don't have to use it every question. Use the guiding questions to kind of answer. So on the checklist. And if you'll scroll down. Yeah, and you got some basic general questions that you can apply to any. You don't have to answer all of them, so try to use them to guide your interpretation.
Yeah, and then came shortly after their room folks, so they're like scampering behind the room. And then talking about how they're like, yeah, they never changed the God, and so it's like totally.
Any questions about what to,
Yeah.
have you found the guys?
He's in on it.
The checklist? I think we've already come up with some good points, so I don't know if you need to use it, but this was just to help you. Some of the general questions that some of this theory is scroll down to. It gives you some questions you can ask. Yeah, so you've already used it. You don't have to answer all the questions in the analysis. Yeah, use those.
President at the time, then how would that affect
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just enough, put just enough on your slides to kind of give your audience an idea of what you're talking about. And then elaborate. Okay, so has a couple of links that you can go to that will give you a definition of formalist critic, or you can research it yourself. There's several good sites out there that talk about formalist and
World Experience Study Hall.
Although, like, it largely focuses on the women, they teach flips for everybody in certain ways.
First you do like the household, you know, and then that time, whatever household you create, you do families, so like you remember members, and everybody do it.
Oh.
Sure, but how are they treated? How are they treated? Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Martin's prayer. You disagree with or, you know, or cat basically. And that's fine, but I take what she's getting at. Any specific. Pretty scary times. Country.
She makes me sad. She has a lot of issues.
Yeah. How can you relate that to?
Yeah, sounds like more.
A lot of it, I feel like the story could be an outlet for it. Like one of the things we were going to talk about is like almost every character had like consistently intense personality, which like is dangerous. Literally being stoned to death, which takes from that extreme agoraphobia.
Yes.
So that's like everything's dangerous.
Good. And look how many times nervously is used in the story. And I think that summarizes her, how she felt when she went out in public.
Yeah.
Oh, the Marxist system, and then we just like, it says that what exactly were the material reality of the economic society.
Yes. Yeah, but there's some truth to it, right? A little truth. How does it pertain to the story?
I mean, because the rich people are the people who are choosing who gets to live or die.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting. What does Mr. Summers keep saying as they continue to go on?
Since what this would probably show us.
We need to hurry up. We can't hurry up. Why does he want everybody to hurry up? Get back to work. Get back to work.
So he knows he's gonna do it.
From a Marxist perspective, it would be, well, he's also the one who put the black dot, and he's running everything, so.
He would get paper bills.
Right, I mean, he's supposed to take one, but maybe it's rigged, where he, you know, he keeps up with everything. So from a Marxist perspective, he is in control, he's at the top of the line.
Did you see that Mr. Warner was once in because he's the oldest one, he's obviously older than Mr. Summers.
Yeah. In a village of, you know, it would have been less than 300 at the time, yeah. That or he is a symbol of success meant to distract or from revolting. So either way. Oh, yeah, false hope. What else have you really?
People kind of subjugating the war by talking about how the men, like the head of the household, like
Yeah, absolutely. It's like this whole short melt on this. You don't have enough power or whatever to go up and resolve. And I think in this story, more so what is Tessie Hutchinson before she she's cleaning, doing dishes, she's stuck inside, she's trapped inside. She said, "Can't look out the window," and put guns out the window, they're free, she's.
I would never look. Exactly,